while we wait for our next guest, we're going to take a quick break from the conversation to talk about one of our sponsors. And this one is really special because it's a product that's exclusive to Mojave Wasteland. I'm talking about Wasteland water, the purest and most refreshing water you can find out here in the desert. Now, I know what you're thinking. Joe, how can water be special? It's just water. But let me tell you, folks, out here in the Wasteland, finding clean and safe drinking water can be a real challenge. That's where Wasteland water comes in. They use state-of-the-art filtration technology to purify every drop of water they collect so you can be sure that you're drinking something that's not going to make you sick. And let me tell you, folks, this water tastes amazing. It's crisp and refreshing, and it'll quench your thirst like nothing else. So if you're traveling through the Mojave and you need something to drink, look for the Wasteland Water logo. You won't regret it. And the best part is, they're offering a special discount code just for my listeners. Use the code JODO2281 at checkout for 10% off your first purchase. That's JODO2281 at checkout for 10% off your first purchase of Wasteland water. Don't wait, folks. Get your hands on the best water in the Mojave Wasteland today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. Today, we have a very special guest with us. He's a ghoul mechanic and self-proclaimed gunslinger who says he's been imprisoned at Black Mountain in the Mojave Wasteland. Please welcome Raul Alfonso Tejada.
Thank you for having me on the show, Joe.
Raul, it's great to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you become a ghoul and end up as a prisoner at Black Mountain?
Well, Joe, I was born before the Great War in Mexico. I was a mechanic and an excellent shooter back then. When the bombs fell, I was with my sister at a ranch that was unaffected by the Great War. Her name was Rafaela. At some point, after we started accepting refugees, we started to run out of supplies. Eventually, when we started turning people away, things went to crap. One night, a group of people came and barred the house before setting our house on fire. Only me and my sister got out. Afterward, we headed to Mexico City against our better judgment.
That's rough, man. How did you manage to survive for so long in the wasteland?
Yeah, rough is one word. Well, Joe, I'm a survivor. I've been through a lot over the years. One day, after I was ghoulified, I found an old vaquero outfit and started wearing it. Rafaela really liked the outfit. I eventually gained a notorious reputation as a gunslinger, which led to people targeting me. Eventually, one morning after my sister went out, I found her dead. I destroyed the people who murdered her to the last man.
I'm sorry to hear that, Raul. That's a terrible tragedy. It sounds like you've been through a lot of hardship in your life. So, how did you end up at Black Mountain?
Well, after my sister's death, I continued wandering the wasteland. One day, I happened upon a radio signal from Black Mountain. When it went quiet, I got interested and decided to go up there. There, I met a mutant named Tabitha, who, after I fixed the radio willingly, made work as a mechanic through means which aren't peaceful to say the least. I tried to escape a few times, but I'm always threatened with violence. Damn mutants.
That's intense. How have you managed to survive working for the super mutants?
It's not easy. I'm like a slave and they don't give me much food or water. But I'm resourceful. I've managed to scavenge some parts and tools for myself over time. I also have a workbench, which has allowed me to craft some devious plans over the years. Looks like they're too dumb to figure that out.
That's impressive, Raul. Do you have any plans for your future?
I've thought about some, Joe, but it's not easy to think with walls around me. The mutants have fortified the place pretty well, and they have some serious firepower. Plus, there's Tabitha. She's a tough cookie.
Interesting to hear.
For whatever reason a listener might be traveling along the I-15, I suggest you avoid Black Mountain. It's not a kind place.
Now, at some point in your life, you must have passed through Arizona to get here. How's Arizona?
Arizona. It's a tough place, Joe. The Legion has a strong presence there, and while many view the Legion negatively, in Arizona they've created a brutal but safe society. However, they're not too friendly to anyone else who doesn't fit their idea of the perfect society. One piece of advice I can give is to never sell chems to them. It won't end well for you. By the way, I listened to your podcast with Joshua Graham. Loved it.
Oh, thanks, man.
Anyways, in Arizona, there are some good people there too, trying to make a living and survive in the wasteland. I've done some work for a few of them in the past.
That sounds like a challenging environment to live in. What kind of work have you done for the people of Arizona?
Mostly mechanical work, Joe. I've fixed up cars and weapons, and I've also helped some farmers repair their irrigation systems. I try to help out where I can. It's not easy being a ghoul in the wasteland, but I figure if I can do some good and make people's lives a little easier, it's worth it.
That's a noble way of looking at things, Raul. It's clear that you've had to face a lot of adversity in your life, but you're still out there trying to help people. That's impressive. So, what do you think the future holds for you? Do you have any plans or goals for the future?
As I said, Joe, my main goal right now is to get out of Black Mountain and back into the world. Beyond that, I'm not sure. I've been thinking about maybe heading up to New Vegas and seeing if I can make a life there, find somebody. It's a dangerous place, but it's also full of opportunity. Maybe I'll even start my own garage and gun shop. Who knows? The Wasteland is full of surprises.
Now, I wanted to ask you about something that I've heard about in the Wasteland, the Brotherhood of Steel. They're known for being pretty anti-ghoul, aren't they?
Yeah, Joe, that's unfortunately true. The Brotherhood has always been pretty intolerant of ghouls, and they're not too fond of mutants in general. They see themselves as some holier-than-thou protectors of technology, and they think that anyone who's not human is a threat to that technology. I've had a few run-ins with them over the years, and it's never been pleasant.
That's really unfortunate. It seems like they're missing out on the potential contributions that ghouls and other non-humans could make to society. Do you think something could be done to change their minds?
Honestly, Joe, I'm not sure there's much that can be done. The Brotherhood is pretty set in their ways. They've got a pretty strict and stupid code, and they don't deviate from it. I think the best we can hope for is to try and find common ground with the people who are more open-minded. There are plenty of factions out there who are willing to work with ghouls and other mutants, and I think that's where we should focus our efforts.
That's a good point. It's important to find allies and build a community of like-minded people who are willing to look past our differences and work together for the greater good. Now, speaking of communities, have you encountered other ghouls and tried to form partnerships? I can imagine that forming alliances with other ghouls might be a good way to help each other out.
Absolutely, Joe. There are plenty of ghouls out there who are just trying to survive, just like me. Over the years, I've met a lot of them and formed some pretty tight bonds. We share resources, watch each other's backs, and offer each other support when we need it. It's not always easy to find people you can trust in the Wasteland, but I've been lucky to find some great friends among the ghoul community.
That's really great to hear, Raul. It's inspiring to see people coming together and supporting each other in such a harsh and unforgiving environment. It's a reminder that even in the worst of circumstances, we can still find hope and connection with others.
Exactly, Joe. The Wasteland might be a brutal place, but it's also a place where people can come together and make a difference. We might be mutants, but we're still human, and we still have the ability to build communities and support each other.
Well said, Raul. Thank you again for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Joe. It's been an honor.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, you did it, dude.